So who's covering Maggie's?
I was going to.
Okay, we're ready and waiting.
So her topic was cyberbullying, with the idea that the person saying things that they were saying behind the screen, they wouldn't say it face to face if they were talking to the person face to face. Sorry, I don't remember what else I was supposed to talk about.
So like that's the technology. So like what's the maybe describe the political aspect a little bit more, kind of talk about how she's going to lay this out, like what are these sketches based on, kind of give us that overview so we know what we're looking at.
So her first sketch is more like what it would look like if it was like what you would see if it was like in a text interface. And her second sketch is more like people in cloaks. Sorry, I'm really bad at explaining. I'm sorry. And the more political side of this is is that you see a lot of cyberbullying in today's society, as well as in politics. I guess that's the political side of things.
Well, the one thing I don't know if I necessarily specified in like that list, and maybe it'll be better for me to do a more specific list, the next one, of things to talk for you guys to relate. The one big thing for this project is type as image, right? So it's good to have these like background focuses of what the project's about. So as you guys are kind of thinking, prepping to present for your partner, maybe be thinking of presenting to us, how this type is going to be presented as an image as well, if it's not specifically brought up. So cool, Kalista. And then how does this relate to your research and such?
This actually relates really well to my research, because my research was on people in the LGBT community as being stereotyped. And I did research on this for one of my other classes last semester as well. And my mind blanks on me at the wrong times. Words. I know what I'm trying to say, but my mind does not want to say it. People tend to be cyberbullied and just hated towards more often in the LGBT community. So, sorry, I know what I'm trying to say. That's pretty much the point of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then do you have any specific, just as a follow-up note for you, any particular considerations that you could give her towards this, like any suggestions towards like that research background? It's kind of like this mashup, right? Some things might not work. She might not do these things, but kind of like if you were going to take this project on, how might you give that dual meaning based on that research as a consideration?
I'd say just be careful with like what type of text you use, because certain like typefaces can mean certain things. So just be careful with the typeface you use.
Cool. Yeah. Anybody have some thoughts here? We have maybe another minute.
I'd like to know a little bit more about the dome on the bottom image, what they are, what they represent, maybe.
The bottom image, it's like people, I mean, I'm bad at drawing, but it's like people wearing cloaks because like when the cyberbullying happens, it's on the internet and people, often bully you for their own insecurities, and they hide behind the screen and say things that they wouldn't say in person, or that they wouldn't say in general, but they feel, I guess, more confident to say it on the internet when they can hide.
I like the top image that you have, the showing like the exchanging messages back and forth, or like people what they're saying and how like they're saying it through a messaging app of sorts. But one thing I think you could add is maybe like a face in the background showing like the emotion that a person feels while people are like saying these things at them. Say it to my face. You have the word face in there. Maybe adding an actual face might.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. All right. And I'll just go back and kind of start from the top down, looks like. So whoever's covering Aisha's.
I do cover Aisha. So the interesting is that Aisha and I, we have Aisha is making sketches that she wants to point out politicians and their lies. Basically, politicians are lying constantly, and we're believing them. One of her plans, one of the sketches, I don't see the one I see over here is like two politicians are playing chess, and on them it's gonna be the fake promises they made before the election, and her audience basically it's anybody who questions politicians and everybody who doesn't believe politicians. Her research is going to be on that, and her message is politicians are their fake promises. I don't know if I said that well, Aisha. Oh, this is the sketch. We actually looked on the left one. She's going to have the politician, and he looks good, but below he's disintegrating. And on the right, it's the two politicians playing chess, and on them it's going to be all the lies are said before the election. I don't know if I said it well, Aisha. You can correct me if I said that.
And what about that research, Konstantinos?
How they convincing us to vote with lies, and how they're using their campaigns to send out fake promises, and how we bind that, how we as the voters, we're buying that.
Thoughts?
In fact, my theme is about the same. Our theme was politics, right? For this project.
Yeah,
Not,
something political, something technological.
I like
yeah, not in
left.
specific.
Sorry, you can go if you had a comment. So on the left image, I like how you have the politician kind of like dissolving into because of like all the lies and the corruption telling. One thing I might suggest is like the two like little flashes that you have in the background. Maybe those could be like photographers or journalisms like doing their exposés and kind of like exposing him who he really is, and so he's kind of like melting down, kind of like Wizard of Oz when you pour the water on the witch, she starts to melt down, and you can see her for what she really is.
I agree with whoever just said that. I can't see who said it. I don't understand how to work Zoom. But maybe instead of like having the politician hold it up, it be on a table, just so it's a little bit easier to like create.
These are really good ideas. I have a suggestion for the one on the left, where all of the people are watching the politician on the stage. It would be really cool if you can like incorporate some words into those people, and they're all the same to kind of show that they're like I don't know, like they all believe they're all buying this, you know, like kind of like a sheep thing. That'd be kind of cool.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Okay, who's presenting for Kalista? You can take it away.
It's the top image.
His project is about the LGBTQ community, and everyone in this community has made mistakes, but everyone in life makes mistakes, and I think that does not prove anything. A lot of people put a lot of bad labels on people in this community, but it's not necessary. Everyone are not perfect, and we should not completely deny each other because of their mistakes.
Yeah, and after you guys present for each other, then like the work, then we just want to hear your research and then some suggestions about the project with that research.
My project is about social media. And nowadays, people are too addicted to social media and the internet. On social media, everyone trying to pretend like perfect. But I think it's a virtual world and it's not important. We should focus less on social media and focus more about people around us, like our families. And I think face-to-face communication is more closer.
How about Yees? Do you have any thoughts towards this?
Nope.
Quentin?
I like this idea. I think I'm having a hard time seeing how the text sort of blends with the image so much as it's just sort of present in it. Could you talk a little bit about how the text is going to sort of be a more central part of it?
Yeah, let me clarify that. For the top image, I was looking at the student examples and I kind of drew inspiration from a couple of them. The top image is supposed to be kind of like my inspiration from the one you showed us last class that was like the globe. So it's kind of like my take on that one. With it's going to be like a black background with text, with a like the text I have written something like that as like a rainbow flag or something like that. With the bottom one, it's the text I already have written, and the flags are going to be some form of text, the stereotypes of each of those flags, but written in the colors of those flags.
Cool. All right, Shenyu.
Yeah, so her project is talking about how social media, like everyone is obsessed with social media, and it's become too important, and we should spend more time and think that our real lives are more important than our identity on social media, and we should spend less time on social media and more time with our families and loved ones. And this related to my research because I was talking about cyberbullying, which takes place on social media, and I agree that people spend too much time. People spend too much time on social media, and they lose their sense of reality, I guess. Like the top image is showing the different social medias being thrown in a garbage can. The bottom one, you know, shows people spending time with their family. But I think, oh yeah, like reading a book instead of being on their phone.
Okay. And your research and some suggestions?
Well, my research had to do with cyberbullying, so I agree that people spend too much time on social media and it can be a negative thing, and people can lose their sense of reality when spending too much time on social media. And suggestions, I mean, I really like the idea. I agree with it. I just think that, I mean, there needs to be more text in the image because that's the focus of the project. So just deciding like what the text should be and how it should look in the project, because these images don't have any text in them.
Yeah, and then following that point up, anybody have thoughts on type?
I don't really see where like the type is included in the image, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that's what Maggie was just saying. I guess I'm referring to like, does anybody have thoughts towards some considerations of how type could be implemented?
I'm still trying to figure out a way how, but maybe in the second picture, somehow implementing a way to put type in the family somehow.
Yeah, maybe I will add this in my project.
Maybe just a suggestion, because I was trying to figure out the same thing. Maybe if you can have in the background of the family semi-transparent the word happy or something like that, and the top one, also transparent in the background but big, the word lonely or something like that. Just an idea.
Okay. My project is want to say, people live waste too much time on the social media, and maybe they need to take more time to communication with their families. Not all of time, just some part of time.
Any quick follow-up thoughts to that?
I think the second one is good, and it could be like a family, like whole family sit together while they're eating, but everyone holding their phones. Like it could be better to express the idea that like people focus on technology and like without connection with their families. Yeah.
Cool. Oh my. How do I go back without my bar? That is the question. Okay, whoever is covering Ian's.
So for Ian's project, he used the show Rick and Morty as a reference, kind of like representing all the ideas he wanted to express. And for those who don't know the show, Rick and Morty talks about this guy named Rick, and his adventure with his grandson Rick. Morty. So Rick has this portal gun that can travels into different universe, and it's a type of technology that he invented himself. So there are two groups of I would say power or organization. They sort of wanted to one of the organization wanted the technology for himself for themselves, and the other one they wanted this particular Rick to join their kind of society kind of thing. So on the left side, it is the Council of Rick. They are accusing Rick for using this portal gun because they thought he killed someone. And what Ian is trying to represent here is how people let's say if there's a thing coming out, and the people, they don't know what it is, then they tend to see it as a threat, or they may want to destroy it. So like Ian doesn't have a particular thing to represent this idea, so he used the portal gun as a representation. Yeah.
Research suggestions? You're in?
Yeah, sorry.
What about your connection to your research, and then any suggestions?
My topic is about how the human connections on the internet and and its contrast with how the connection could really be in the real life. I don't see much connections between these two, sadly. So,
if you were to pick up this project, how would you approach it?
I kind of like this idea because I like Rick and Morty too. Yeah.
Okay, if you could think of anything. Otherwise, anybody else thoughts? All right. Didn't get any feedback for him. I think in general, I know I'm giving you guys this like new task, so you're computing it. Just try to be mindful of leaving some time for some talks, some chats. It is a little crunchy, I know. Jasmine. Whoever's covering Jasmine.
Jasmine's was about the societal pressures in the age of in the age of new technology, and how older generations don't necessarily understand the social pressures added by things like social media, and with the advent of the internet, and how that adversely affects the economics of the country and how we live. And like there's a set time where you should get married, there's a set time where you should move out of your house, there's a set time where you should do that, and it's like those societal norms are always being challenged. But then again, it's the added pressure on younger generations like us, where we have to live with those things. And that's kind of on the top sketch, where the characters has a big weight on their shoulders, and they're climbing up a steep set of stairs. And for the research, it's how societal pressures can lead to depression and anxiety, which can stem further into many other negative thoughts, including even suicide. And how how today pressures have never been higher, because in the age of technology, it's no longer social barriers it's no longer geographical barriers between people. You are immediately at the touch of your fingertips at access to billions of people. And that's just something to be said and something to be represented in art.
who has questions? I mean,
I don't really have any questions, but I like the representation of like the burden that are put on the person in the top image, kind of like a giant boulder weight that they have to carry. Although I'm not sure if it's like, I don't know if you can really get the relation between like those burdens being put on you through like, what was it, like social media and things of people, like people's opinions on what you're supposed to do. Like I get the steps thing, but maybe you could put some symbolism behind that. So for example, like the whole steps thing, like this is how you're supposed to live your life. Maybe you have like people at the bottom, you like boomers or whatever, telling you like this is the way that you're supposed to live your life, and like keep doing it, you're doing a good job. Or then maybe like some other younger people saying like, no, you have to be this way, or this is how what you're supposed to do.
Awesome, thank you.
I like the top idea a lot. It sounds a lot like the idea of I'm gonna butcher this name, Cepheus from Greek mythology, where he had to like push the boulder up the hill and then it just kept rolling back down.
Yeah, I definitely thought of that too. Thank you.
The top idea actually kind of reminds me of Atlas holding up the world, like bearing the entire weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah, you're right.
any last thoughts? Right. Okay, we're up to presenting Kayla's.
For mine, it's the one title. It has a 3 in it because I re-uploaded a zoomed-in version of it, so it's easier to.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm presenting for Kayla. So basically her project is she's basically saying the kind of phone that you have really projects the kind of image that you have, and better iPhones are seen as luxury. And if you can afford it, you're probably, you know, rich, have a lot of money, or cool, or better than anyone else. It's kind of like a caste system, like only rich people can afford to continuously get the newest and latest models. Instead of who you are, you're represented by what you can afford, and Apple products kind of give you like that higher class. So for her research, she's mainly using the lawsuit that Apple lost in November 2020 for $30 billion. And all of the evidence used in the case shows that Apple was indeed slowing down their old iPhone models to make people buy the latest models. So my research is kind of similar because mine kind of dwells around like social media and just in general people judging each other for being not as the same level as people were in the past. And her specifically ties into like how society judge you if you just don't have, you know, the most up-to-date equipment like everybody else. So ours are kind of similar. And then like Michael said, my research, I just basically found out how, you know, these pressures can lead to depression and anxiety. I guess maybe if I had to give a suggestion, I would say maybe for the phone that's worse, quote unquote, could have words like, you know, inadequate or like not good enough, like in there somehow. And the better phone could be like, you know, the best, perfect, or better than you. So.
I like the idea of like the classism that goes on, the differences in people, like something trivial as having the latest and greatest iPhone. You know, I like the little buffering thing that you showed to represent Apple slowing down their older models to force people to upgrade. One thing that I might suggest is like if you end up putting text in there, like or on the phone or on the screen, maybe you can have like, at least it's not an Android, because that would probably be like the lowest of the low in that scenario, because some people think like, oh, you have an Android, or oh, that picture looks like an Android quality, like, so that would be even lower than like an older version of an iPhone.
Yeah, once I start actually making it, I was going to add in like on the screens more going on, but I more so just wanted to get something like just to show the basic idea. But I'm going to like add things into like the background and everything.
I like that idea as well. You should also consider taking like text from the articles about like the lawsuit and putting it in there somehow. Maybe putting it on the phone screen itself.
Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. I didn't think of that. Thank you.
I like that you made the phones look like human beings with, hands and legs, which shows that, like, we're, again, like how you going with, we're defined by the things we own. So the humans technically become their phones, which is pretty cool. I like that.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to show. So I'm like, glad that you picked up on that. Thank you.
I did step out for a second, so I missed some chatter. I see that we have it's kind of like presented left and right sides, right? Like
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I didn't know how to like show it just in the sketch, but I'm gonna like kind of like fade it in the middle, like between the two.
my one thought, because you're kind of showing like higher class and lower class, right? I would consider maybe putting the higher class just up top in terms of the visual, like just visual hierarchy. It'll speak for itself. Also, scale can be helpful. Yeah, and if you're really idolizing like one main brand against other brands, maybe there could be a variety of different, things below.
Yeah, as of now, I wasn't going between brands necessarily. I was just trying to show, so like the one on the left looks different because I was showing like the difference between like the older models with a home button kind of versus like the newer models, so that I showed like the full screen.
Right. Okay, yeah.
But I'm going to stick with Apple since my research is mainly on Apple.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about the home button, because my model's an older model and mine has a home button.
Cool. And we did Maggie's. We're up to Michael's. Jasmine, look. I have the same water bottle. Sorry for cutting.
Nice.
So I'm presenting for Michael. So for his idea, he's trying to show up top is supposed to be the Apple logo, and it's an escalator, but the person is constantly trying to go up the escalator that's facing down. And at the top of the escalator in the actual image, he's going to put the faces of different like social icons and celebrities and everything, and how people are constantly like, there's the constant pressure to be like all of those people that they see on like social media and everything. But the elevator, since it's a downward elevator, it's constantly like pushing against them. And coincidentally, we are using a lot of the same research towards it. So he's using also the same case from November of 2020 to show like the same idea of like Apple kind of having the ability to affect how people are viewed in society because of if they are able to like afford the latest iPhone or anything, or even like computer models, any different product, and how by them like slowing it down and constantly making people have to like buy the newest items or have just the newest things in general, it's creating like a form of hierarchy. So it's our research is actually very similar.
I like the idea of the escalator pushing down. You know, is it like something that you see it in the distance and you want it so bad, but you'll never be able to achieve it, I guess, just because of where you might be in life. One thing I might suggest is like the contents of the Apple logo itself. Maybe put like words that to kind of define what people think their brand is, like luxury, status, power, success, and things to like. And maybe even add more people who are like crawling on the elevator to show how people like how desperate they are to get the approval from everyone else. And maybe add like other people at the top, like how Phil was saying, like notable people who rock the iPhone or rep it, and maybe like commercials or something.
Yeah, in a further updated sketch, I in that, top left quadrant, I was gonna do like, like certain malls and whatnot, and where you would see escalators, it'd be like it's the balcony on the side. I was gonna add like a balcony and add just icons up there, like just famous people and like people you just kind of want to be like and stuff like that, like stereotypical celebrity and stuff like that, just to show that elevated status. And then like maybe I do like your idea of adding something more, in a way, more adversity to the stairs, in a way, like other people crawling on it, maybe like they're kind of broken, just jaggedy stairs, just something like that. I see your idea. I could implement that. I mean, obviously I would need to also draw a better Apple logo, but that's where we're at currently in skills with the Sharpie. But any other questions?
Yeah, and as we go through too, if like we're presenting for Michael, if you have any direct questions for us too, like if you're, if you guys are having a hard time thinking about something specific, you can bring that up.
What do you guys think of the controversy of how, people see new phones and other technology as some sort of status symbol? What do you guys think?
As a person,
some people disagree.
Earlier, I never thought what?
I can hear you.
I never thought the phone as a status symbol. I know some people are looking at it this way, but I never thought of it this way.
Interesting to hear.
Yeah, what I think what's interesting is a lot of the advertisements for these kinds of devices are to be exciting and fresh, right? Like the future is here and now. But when they're talking about the features, like if you go onto their website in any capacity to investigate said products, or you watch their keynote, right? Anything of any specific value about them, they're talking about the new features and what you can do with those features. But what's interesting is the people that care about the status don't give a fuck about the features. Like it could be completely like 10 years old, but like it could be a new product, right? Like a 3 megapixel camera and put more money in.
Yeah, like you could, like you can get the old Motorola Razr, call it the iPhone 13, and people are still gonna buy that shit up.
Well, yeah, so didn't they just re-release one of the old iPhones? I think it was the SE, maybe.
SE2, but it has a updated processor. So the thing I think I'm bringing up though is that notion that commercials talk about the energy and the flare, but any specifics, like you go into the store to ask, that's not what they're going to tell you, right? They're going to try to pair on with your passions and such. But at that point, like those people that want it don't even really care about them. So there's this interesting, like, two sides to that conundrum. I don't know how to describe it more. I thought I'd bring it up. It's an interesting thought, though. All right, Quentin.
Okay, so give me 1 second to get my notes up on that.
I thought I should do summer canteen talk track.
What's that?
Is that correct? Yeah, I think I will do contains topic. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, so Quinton's is supposed to be on like the AI facial manipulation and how it could affect politics. And he brought up things like deep fakes. That's basically where people are very good at photoshopping videos and images to make the face look real. And he brought up that idea because it could be used as like a weapon almost to spread misinformation. And his technology aspect in this was that it's a new technology and it's going to evolve like we've seen everything else evolve. And sorry, the text is so small. He brought it up because like it's ever changing and it can be used to manipulate voice, manipulate someone's actions. And he says that the text, I'm assuming that's going to be those little lines, will blend in with the image and it'll show like a reality opposing the AI modified image. And this relates to my research because he's using that to describe a sense of one thing isn't as it seems almost. And mine is on net neutrality. And when net neutrality got appealed, it kind of formed like a class system, as well as the fact that what you were paying for isn't what you were getting, if that makes sense.
May I speak? That's kind of embarrassing because in the small room, we were agree. I was supposed to do Kuning's part, and Lauren was supposed to do my to summary my topic, but it seemed like.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. So what should we do for now?
That's okay. I think for time wise, maybe I'll just have you can cover your own and then I won't dock you or anything for points wise.
Okay.
Just for time's sake. Yeah, I guess these things can happen from time to time. Yeah, what do you guys think?
It's a scary technology to begin with.
I like the image on the left showing the recent Tom Cruise deepfake video that went viral. So you've got like the box saying it's like TikTok at the top. You know, maybe like And maybe I might suggest like some of the comments are like, oh my God, that's really Tom Cruise, or I can't believe Tom Cruise is doing that. And maybe like you even have like the real Tom Cruise in the background, kind of like what's going on here. I don't know if you've ever seen that meme like with John Travolta in the Oscars where he's like walking around and he doesn't know. So maybe put like the real Tom Cruise doing that in the background. But yeah, I like the idea that it's something that could be taken to the point of people get riled up over it, or like it's deep faked. I don't know, like Donald Trump doing something else stupid that he's done before, and people are like, oh my God, he actually really did that, showing how easy people fall for this kind of thing.
Cool. And yeah, I just brought up the chat. I don't normally open the chat if we're doing stuff, but I seen Ren's comment on somebody else's about something about tipping. I think I'll just do a quick note on that. I actually went abroad to study and in England, and tipping is frowned upon because money that servers and such get from tipping normally is just factored into their wages, right? And this is a thing around a lot of maybe most countries. The US is one of those that doesn't have that. So what's interesting is that it's kind of putting workers' frustration out onto other people rather than to their employer. Like the employer doesn't hold that responsibility. It's an interesting thought I bring up. Quinton's we did. Roland's. Okay.
All right, so I had Roland's, and Roland's image was about technology and privacy, and how every technology that we use, they're collecting all our information, all our data, and she visualized that by showing these TVs and other cameras with like huge eyes, like almost like Big Brother, constantly surveying the people that are using them. So that's the first picture, and the second picture is like this big magnetic globe that's just like attracting all these cell phones and devices. Yeah, and so her audience, she said, was everyone, because everyone gets influenced by technology, and especially by having their information recorded without their consent. And this related to my research because I was researching about politicians and how they pander to the public. And one of the main ways politicians know that, what the public like and what they, well, not one of the main, but one of the methods they use to know like what they should pander to is by information that is collected by, not unethically collected by Facebook and, YouTube and other social medias. And we were speaking about like, if you don't pay for a product, that usually means you are the product. So again, with legal transferring of informations and things like that was my research, and also about that's how politicians know what to pander to. And her image does a good job of portraying that, the Big Brother type. And I forgot to ask her, it was my fault really. I forgot to ask her how texts come into play with this image. I think she does have, she has a text over here in the first one. It says name, I think. Yeah, but I forgot to ask her about how text comes to play.
You could ask her.
Yeah, let's do it.
I still need to working on it, right? Yes, I'm not sure what text I'm going to add, so I still need to working on it.
And then Aisha, I think, did you talk about your research?
Yeah. So I mentioned it. So my research talks about politicians and politicians pandering to the public. And one of the main, not main, I'm sorry, one of the ways in which they collect those information is through unethical, collections of personal information from these devices.
Yep.
Oh, and the background for image 2 is like buildings and cityscapes. If anyone's interested.
I'm more drawn to the image there on the left here. I like the concept of brother eye, like constantly watching you and absorbing your information. So one thing I might add is that like maybe you could put like all like the data information that the eyeball has gathered, like we can see it. So maybe like, oh, Jimmy works out every day from 2 to 3, and like different information like text based that the eye has been carrying, you know. And maybe another idea that you could add in there is like people care about their privacy, so they use things like a VPN. So maybe above one person an eye is trying to collect data on, you have like this little shield above it, you know, and it says like VPN, maybe in text, or the ways that a VPN can protect you from people who are trying to get information about you.
Okay. Sophia. And then we have 1, 2. Wait. Did we already do Constantinos? Oh, okay. You just spoke. 1, 2. Okay.
Yeah, I presented issues.
All right. Well, we could just start. I don't have time to switch this right now.
Yeah, I can just. So for Sophia's project, she's focusing on the negative effects of stereotypes against Black women on dating apps. So there you've got the politics and the technology. So on the left image here, we can see like 2 phones and like a bunch of words attacking her. And I remember her saying in the breakout meeting that she wants to make the woman in the middle sort of like larger in life, as she put it. You know, maybe looking like Godzilla, people like, you know, perceive her as this giant monster. And then on the image of the right here, we have like people laughing in the background, you know, and it says swipe next to it to show like swiping left or right. I don't know how it wants to work, for the rejection that she was receiving. And then she has the image of the woman down here, and the little squiggle line. She said she wanted to make like flies were like pestering her on these dating apps. So the way this kind of relates to the research that I did is that my research was focusing on like how people, maybe specifically like the government, if they don't understand something, they fear it. Like if they don't understand technology or something, people tend to be afraid of what they don't understand. So they either try to get rid of it, or they try to enforce regulations on it. So that kind of relates to people, how like people reinforce stereotypes because a lot of times they're not educated on why those stereotypes are bad and why they're just completely wrong. So that kind of goes into the theme of like people aren't really educated on things, so they don't know about it, so they end up like reinforcing those negative stereotypes on more specifically here in Sophia's project. I guess one thing that I might suggest is just going off of the whole theme of Godzilla, how like that she is a monster who's kind of misunderstood. Like her role is to protect the earth, and so just maybe to show more of like that misunderstanding. So maybe like actually make it her look like Godzilla a bit, because Godzilla is a monster who is misunderstood by people.
I really like the second picture with the Tinder connotation, because well, Tinder is like the height of where you can, you know, negative, I mean, stereotypes come into play because you only judge someone by their picture. So that was a smart play.
Constantinos. Okay.
So I'm doing this one. Like I think the project is very creative. This project is about fake politics and focusing on political aspects using elements about technology and politics. As you can see in the first pictures, it's about like selection poster, but all the candidates are mobile phones. And also the second pictures is about some candidates' names are all the same. So that means the politics are fake. So my project is about technology and privacy issue. This project can be related to my projects. I think it can be like politic politicians use mobile phones to instill fake information into us. That's it.
Constantinos, do you have any quick follow-ups to that? Or, okay, and then any questions maybe for us?
No, I'm open.
Okay.
I like the first image with the phone being the politician. Because I know I was speaking to you and you said you wanted to give off that vibe where the phones, the apps themselves are human beings, promoting themselves. And I think the first one really shows that with the crowd and, the whole bravado of the phone.
Is the second one supposed to be like you can vote on your phone?
Yep, pretty much. And all the names of the choices are the same.
I like that idea. We're probably heading toward that anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I like the idea of the phone representing a politician itself. So maybe you can have like the crowd like chanting out different reasons of why they support that. Maybe like, oh, why weren't we doing this all along? Phones contain all the knowledge on Earth. They can solve all of our problems. So why don't we just elect a phone to be our president or the nation's leader?
Okay. Did get a couple notes there. I'm going to cut it slightly short because I want to try to see if we get through these other ones. So we have Ren, Ease, and Urine, 3. Okay. Hey, who's doing Ren?
That's me.
Hmm?
Okay, so this work is primarily about net neutrality and how it was, it's been revoked and how this eventually led to price gouging. The technological aspect is that it directly correlates to the use of technology in the internet. And politically, we all remember when net neutrality was all over the news, and even now it's like an issue of some significant political weight. The goal of this image is to sort of be reminiscent of like a political cartoon in that sort of general style. And she wants the words in the image to look like the object that she's trying to convey. And this topic is obviously about internet regulation, which relates to my partner research project pretty well. We were looking at how bots and AI, specifically in dating apps and how there isn't really any regulation for them and they're sort of out of control at this point. And net neutrality is important, but without it, we might see how the internet changes to become more closely regulated and how more rules might be applied. So it's not so much like the Wild West in the way that it used to be.
Ren, any follow-ups or questions of that? Questions for us?
Not that I can think of. If you want, you can go to the next biggest image because that was the one that I thought you were gonna show. Yep.
Does anybody have questions? Like confused maybe? If you can't quite grasp what's going on? I only say that because otherwise we might have feedback. I mean, like right now, this is very single, dimension. What about like background or foreground stuff?
For like the background, I was thinking of like, those political cartoons? They would just like kind of show a city or something in the background.
Maybe you can show a city made up of like 5G towers or something, or some giant the antennas or something like, in just to show like. But this is kind of what you're talking about. Just to have a different.
Just to have what?
Just to have something in the background is what I was trying to say.
Right. Okay. Any particular one we're looking at?
The first one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
For my project, I want to discuss the echo chamber situation caused by the recommendation algorithm. I think this topic is very important and is closely relative to everyone who uses social media. The recommendation algorithm is killing our thinking. It recommends content based on what users like, but not what truth is. So some information with similar views is constantly repeated. Those highly same information from a relatively closed communication environment. So this situation is the echo chamber situation. So under recommendation algorithm, the opinions that you don't like are blocked. If the people is always in the echo chamber situation, those people will continue to self-identify. And this sense of identity creates political disagreements. So in my project, I want to calm people by my project to maintain a questioning and opening attitude and be alarmed to the information brought by the recommendation algorithm. So that's it.
really like the concept that you got going on here. Sort of like technology is like spoon feeding you recommended content, and that's kind of like your impression or your view of the world. So maybe in the background you can show like what this adult or kid grows up to see as the world. You know, how the technology's recommendation is affecting the world around them, for better or for worse.
Any last comments? Okay. And I believe this is Sophia, right? Okay. Right.
So for Yuden's project, the political aspect that she had was this idea that human connection and reality and the connection that you have on social media is very different. Like the expectations that and the ways you're going to connect with people on the internet versus in real life are going to be very different. And she's more so focusing on the second and third two images. Those are the two ones she's like thinking about working with. I also have the same research as Quentin because he's my project partner. So the article that we're using is on AI and bots on dating apps. And I think that incorporating the idea of how people feel very insecure or very fearful of like in real life human connection and causes them to go and kind of seek connections online instead of real life, she maybe could incorporate into like the whole meaning as to why people choose to connect over on social media rather than in real life. She could maybe try to incorporate some ideas on that.
Let's get one comment in. Who can deliver? The game is afoot.
I don't see an incorporation of text. So she wants, or maybe I misheard. But if she wants to speak about that.
Yeah, I'm still working on like what to add for the text. Yeah.
Who has an idea?
Maybe you can juxtapose common sayings that we say to each other from the phone to things that we say in person. So like nobody laughs by saying LOL or things like that. So things when they translate into the media world, they kind of become ludicrous. So maybe a juxtaposition of that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Sweet. Thanks, everybody. Got through everybody today. So there's a few people absent. That's okay. Monday, we're going to finish up the exercise. That being said, I had planned on doing the full exercise. So My recommendation is to use the weekend to try and finalize how you're laying this stuff out, potentially start up the project document, bring any images in that you're thinking you're going to be using, start structuring. I know we have a lot more to learn, but it's kind of like maybe using that time for prep, getting ahead in other classes or whatever too. So cool. See you guys Monday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you Monday.
Hello? Hello? Oh, hello. Today's going to be a busy day. Probably busier for me than it is for you guys, but Dante, you got the right idea out there, man.
Got to take advantage of it. You don't know the next time it's going to snow.
Yeah, I was sitting there making another cup of tea and I'm thinking, damn it, why am I having class right now? This is the kind of day, like if we were in person, I'd be like, all right, can I get everybody to come outside for some reason? I guess it's not really nice to be out. Like if you were to like sit outside right now, you know?
Depends if you're in the sun or not. The shade, it might get too cold because it's windy, but.
Well, I think it's all soupy ground.
You guys are making me so tempted to just like pick up all my things and go outside right now. I'm like looking out the window like, is there a place for me to sit out there?
Yeah. Gotta have Wi-Fi though. It's the big debacle. Or maybe Tether if you're that fancy. Go sit on a water tower, you know? Just hang out. I don't know. That's what they do in that 70s show. It's supposed to be super cool, you know? Figure if you can't reference that, then like, what can you reference, you know?
So I started watching that and I got through like half of the first season and then they took it off Netflix. So I kind of just have to wait until I can watch it again somewhere.
Yikes, dude. You know what? Let's see if we can pull together our collective powers. What is this called? I have an app for Volume Booster. Is if you guys watch anything on a Mac computer and you can't get the volume loud enough, like on a Netflix show or something, there's extensions override that. There's another one I had. Settings, more tools, extensions. I might have gotten rid of it. This honey thing, I don't understand. No, so there's this extension you get for Chrome that allows you to switch your, basically like soft VPN your connection through another country. So it basically tells Chrome like you're in a different country. And by doing so, places like Netflix will give you access to that country's list of shows. So even though like we're really limited all the time on like what you can watch, if it's offered anywhere in the world with Netflix, you could just switch to that country and then you could watch it.
Is it in that language or?
No. It's kind of annoyance, but I mean, whatever, you know, if you can do it. Yeah. I used to use it anyway a few years ago. So. Well, welcome everybody. What's that voice supposed to be? Kind of a little bit hillbilly-ish, but not quite.
Sounded like Goofy.
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
Nice. I'll take it. That's a win right there. Let me switch my folder here. And I'm going to dive in. I know we have a bunch of people, so I'm going to try to be tight here. So just as a, I guess, preface, like I'm going to let you guys, you know, once we get back in here after these breakouts, I'm going to be letting you guys go through. The general theme I found off the first class was that you all do a pretty decent job at presenting for your peer, but then most people are forgetting this other part of the presentation kind of aspect. And so I want to cover that as well. And my job really, I'm not going to be chiming in really at all. I'm going to be focusing my feedback for you guys, like in, if you want to come to office hours, or also individual consults in class. So this is going to be time for you guys to like really help each other out. So, and then I literally just have a sheet that goes down through, and I'm just keeping track of the different things I'm asking you guys to talk about. And I'll, as we go along, I'll try to remind you guys if you're forgetting something. But really, I have listed it here. I should have kind of more or less posted it like bullets. So these are the things I want you guys to be talking about when you're relating stuff, right? So it might be good even just to have a notepad and write down like the bullets that you're trying to inquire with your partners, right? Like about their work, so you could relate it. And then from that point on, there's more bullets, but I think I should have just concise them down rather than being so long. Realistically, the next point is like, how does this relate to your research, right? Because we've all got those topics down. And I feel like maybe if you have these down as bullets, as you meet, you have like that like assignment already laid out and you know what you're doing. The next point is, so you're presenting your research, not your project, but your research and what that research entails. And so a little bit of a specific component of that, right? So not like, oh, I'm doing global warming, and then that's the only thing you say about it. Well, what about the global warming? And then, so a specific point, yeah, I need to rewrite this. I kind of didn't go back through it with a fine-tooth comb. You must then present to the class the idea. So yeah, how do you build off that research as kind of like an idea, building on their research or building on their project with your research? So kind of like, okay, you presented this, you're presenting these sketches and you presented this like research that you did. If you were to pick up this project, for example, now at this sketch stage, kind of how do you apply that research to that project you're presenting, right? So on top of presenting their stuff, you guys have like 3 additional pieces, bullet points I want you to be talking about, right? And then this is something that I want you guys to kind of try to do. I'm gonna really just be quiet, right? So after you guys finish up, rather than having everybody kind of wait to say something, talk to each other, kind of lead each other through that process, right? Whoever's talking, maybe you're saying, okay, that's all I have. Anybody have thoughts? Kind of the same thing I would be saying, right? But you're more along the lines talking to each other. It's kind of a weird thing because we're all like, online. It's a little bit more easy to go with in person, but it's something to kind of pick up on because it's a nice trait to have. So I'm going to just do random groups. I'm really hoping that you guys don't match up with the same people that that you did research with. So let me just quickly double check that because that's kind of a buzzkill. Let's see, Mohammed, okay, good. Christine, Michelle, okay, good. Eddie and John. John, okay, good. Alexander and Oakley. Good. Wow, this is perfect. Last class was good too. Good. Michael, Jetty. Oh, bummer. Okay, so, ooh, I can exchange. Move to room 5. Nice. That's easier. Becca and Dante. Okay. Jade and Jamie. Okay. Eugene Alexander. Okay. Benjamin. Not here. Okay. Oh, I think those couple of people at the end aren't in the class anymore. Okay, should be good. Anybody have questions? Need clarity or anything like that? Yeah, as I said, I think it might be really helpful just to have those kind of tabs written down so that when you go to relate, you're keeping track. And again, I'm kind of hoping that we have approximately 2 minutes for you guys to list off all of those kind of, I guess it's like 6 points, right? Or so. And then we're going to open it up for a couple minutes of other chat, right? Per person. And it'll go by pretty quick. I'm going to try to keep up with time. Otherwise, we won't get through everybody. So cool. See you guys back in about 15.
I want to take the dogs for a walk.
Nice.
You think that'll be okay with both of them?
I think so. Just bring a bag of treats with you. Let me know earlier on that you have treats, and yeah.
Where are they?
There should be just like a bag already right here.
Oh yeah, that's Lily's store that I left here.
Well, here's treats. Yeah, whichever you want. There's more bags down here. Yeah, if something happens, you could always. They should come to you, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's always kind of nice to have a treat just in case. I had trouble walking in the winter because you could wash your footing.
Yeah.
So I would only walk one at a time.
Gotcha.
I think it's fun.
I think Avery said that you only walk one at a time, so that's why I was just curious if.
I like to, so for a long time I didn't because he wanted to let me walk one at a time.
Right. Like, he only wanted you to walk two at a time?
Yeah, so for 5 months I didn't walk.
I mean, I know, I was just thinking about it, I was like, how am I gonna choose who to bring first?
I just didn't like how they both pull me and tug me because there's times I go through with where I've at with the beach store.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have them walk with me, but having to pull 2 different directions is a little, it could be rough on the back if you're sore. So.
You got a fanny pack or something? Oh, I don't know.
It's like a tool bag.
I know, but hey, it might work.
Well, there's that. He's got like a mini backpack.
Come here. Oh no, how, that's okay.
I haven't walked them with us, so I can't really tell you how it's gonna work. When you walk them with their collar, like they don't like to be pulled in the neck, you know?
Yeah, I know, I was.
So the way I train them is little mini tugs.
Mm-hmm.
So if they start pulling, I'll just do like a quick little couple tugs.
Yeah.
And then they know to like stop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about, no, maybe no. I do know that I want to go more sit in the sun.
I know, and it's like, there's so much shit out there. Yeah, I wanna check and be like, is this garbage? Cause
Well, it's not time.
I figured.
Toots. Okay, well, we're just waiting for everybody to come back. 5. Ooh, nice. We will have a good amount of time. We should be able to get through about 5 minutes apiece or so with a little bit of leeway. I think we've got everybody. So just curious about maybe if you guys have a little bit of feedback for me. How do you think this process of talking in preparation went compared to the first one?
Better. I feel like with the different guidelines that you gave us this time, instead of last time, we were able to list out when we talked to each other what we needed to get, what information that we needed to get from our partner, and how we can then display it to the class the best way, most concise way.
Yeah. I think it's all about like that prep and rather than being more on the fly kind of thing. Because it's easy to forget like what you're covering if you don't have that direction. This is kind of what I was expecting as we go along, as we get some, I mean, this is kind of what I was hoping to deliver you guys the first time. My first week was just a little shot. So cool. I think we got, about 5 minutes apiece. Is there anybody that has to leave early?
I'd have to leave a little bit before 4 because I have to go to work and have to get ready for that. But I still have enough time right now, so I shouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, me too.
And Stephen, who? Alex? No.
And Michael.
Michael. All right. Well, maybe we'll just do you guys first. Why not? Let me, and I'll share screens and I'll just bring up stuff, make it hopefully easier or a little bit more streamlined. Sketches. Stephen and Michael. Okay. And there we go. And I think I'm just going to be not expanding this the whole way, just zooming. Cool. So yeah, after I bring stuff up and open it, just have whoever is going to be presenting kind of take the reins, and I'm just going to sit back and kind of monitor and stuff. Time.
Great. So I'm presenting for Stephen, and he wanted to focus on misinformation and how like the truth can be like manipulated as it's passed along. So his first sketch, he wanted to kind of like the idea of like in one ear but out the other. So he thought he'd do like on the left side, he'd have like an opinion that's like not really a fact, but something that somebody believes. And then as it goes through somebody's ear and they like reproduce it onto somebody else, it's like a distorted fact that no one really knows if that's like what happens. But when people start telling you facts, like sometimes it's hard to distinguish if that's just their belief or if they actually heard it somewhere. Especially like with technology, people like you see something on TV or you see something in a magazine, like sometimes it's hard to tell if it's credible. And then so for his bottom sketch, he focused more on like the technology part of it, where like there's going to be like a TV screen and it's like words, like buzzwords like flying around it with like lies, mistrust, fear, and like half truths. So kind of like the same thing. Like when you hear stuff on TV, like what are you going to do? Like you're just going to expect that what the information you're hearing is true. And so like this, I thought this related like really well to my research, because I was looking at like just fake news, like an article on fake news and how it's shared across social media. And when it seems that fake news is shared a lot more commonly than real truth facts, because like if you hear something online that's like astonishing, people are likely to just repost that and reshare it because like they feel like everybody needs to know. But sometimes they don't even know it themselves if it's real. It's just like such like a like an explosion in their head, like, oh, I need to share this out to the world. Yeah, Stephen, do you have anything maybe you want to add just that I might have missed?
Sorry, having a little mic issue. I mean, you did pretty well. I mean, I wish I could kind of like draw a little bit better and kind of put more of my ideas more on the paper. I'm really not that good at that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing it more on Illustrator, where I can kind of like, I find it a little bit easier to like put my ideas onto the screen there. But I was kind of hoping like when I choose one of these just to like kind of maybe stylize the text a little more, just to make it sort of distinguish the difference between opinion and fact, and how it sort of, gets pushed through your head and, comes out one way in ways to another. But yeah, it's just kind of what I hope to emphasize a little bit more going forward.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you too, Stephen, the text point. So if anybody has thoughts towards that, I do real quick want to see, Oakley, do you have any, based on that research that you talked about, do you have any recommendations towards, I'm trying to see if all you'll give like a recommendation based around that research. It may or may not exactly relate. It's just something like another way of thinking, right?
Okay, so like a recommendation that I would give, well, I do really like the way that you have like just one guy with like the opinion and the fact coming out the other side, but maybe you could add some more people, almost like, that game where you like whisper a word in someone's ear and then they whisper it to the person next to them, like something kind of like that, kind of like how stuff is shared on social media so easily.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a good example.
Does anybody have any questions for Stephen?
I was wondering what your idea was like for the actual like person and the top pick. Like, do you have like a idea of like what that's gonna, like who it's gonna be, I guess, or?
Well, it can really kind of be anyone, and that's, I guess, with that sort of like telephone idea that we came up with, that might lend to the idea that it's really not a specific person that is a victim to this kind of stuff. Like it can really be anyone. So yeah, maybe if I add like more people and they were all in that sort of similar situation with passing opinion to a distorted fact, that it just shows that it doesn't matter who you are. It's, it can really happen to anyone.
What I thought of immediately is if it's just like a person thing there, it could just be like one of those like placeholder images for like Facebook or Twitter or something. Like that's an idea you could work with.
Yeah, like a pretty generic sort of whatever person.
Yeah, like the outlines that they use for like I think Facebook it is, because I think Instagram is like an egg or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good.
Also, potentially sticking away from imagery and thinking about type and not, presenting a gender or a race or anything specifically with this person. You could in some way use the letter I, like a lowercase I, and and kind of mold it to be like a stick figure potentially.
Yeah, that's like the generic like body head sort of thing.
Maybe.
Could work.
I don't know.
Okay, I had Michael, which was very ironic because I had Michael for the first project, and this was his original sketch. And then he was told that this would be better for this project, so he used it for this project, and I'm back again. So, Michael's project is about how the hedge funds are manipulating the stocks and how like the people and the redditors and people on Twitter are like messing with them kind of and doing whatever they want to the stock market because they figured out that they can. Um so that would be the political aspect is like dealing with the stock market and like the problems that come from that. And the technological aspect is people on Twitter and Reddit can just communicate with each other and say, hey, we're going to screw this thing up today. It's going to be funny. Let's go. Um, so he's got like for type as an image, he's got the different stocks and Dogecoin in like the line for the stocks going up and down and like makes up those things. And he has the tweet from Elon Musk in the top corner that says game stonk, which is apparently what started all of this. I didn't know that, but you learn something new every day. And it relates in a weird way to my research, or at least I think it does, in that my research was just on like everyone's mental health and how people are feeling during the pandemic. And my research said that people are obviously dealing with a lot more anxiety and dealing with a lot more depression or mental health problems during the pandemic with like job insecurity or home insecurity. And so I think it feels like a little bit of a stretch because these are so like conflicting, or not conflicting, but like these ideas are far apart from each other. But because this happened in the pandemic, I am gonna side with the Redditors because I think it's kind of funny. And I feel like the communication through Twitter and through the Redditors in like figuring out how to mess with the hedge funds, not that it's going to help in the long run with mental health, but I feel like it's kind of like an interesting, hey, we're still kind of in it together. Look at the silly thing that we can all do if we all cooperate, like a sense of unity in kind of a weird situation. But that's what I could take out of it when given a slightly different topic than mine. Um, and if I was going to give any advice, I not that I think it's needed obviously with these images, but if you layer over the people like Elon Musk who's on the side of the Redditors or the hedge fund guy, if you layer over them like different words like corrupt or unified or whatever, like over the people, I think it'll show off more like which side they're supposed to be on or like get the message across better. Does anyone have any questions? Or Michael, if you wanted to add something that I missed?
So I guess for my project, I kind of was doing manipulation, like hedge fund manipulation, but it's kind of moved towards like manipulation in general, like media manipulation and hedge fund manipulation. So anyone else have any input?
I feel like almost there needs to be more of a contrast because you have the two sketches. In the first one is Elon Musk. He's like a good guy in that one, right? Basically.
Yeah, he's with
And the
the
second
people.
one,
Yeah.
yeah, you have like one bad guy, but I think there needs to be more contrast. So you do need both in the same image, I think, not just like one or the other. It's kind of hard to tell all of the effects, I guess, of it.
Okay. And start going down. Right. We are on Alexander's.
I had his. Should I start? Well, his idea was to create a project that shows how like social media distracts people from issues in politics and like limits people from engaging with each other in the real world. So you could see like the buildings, and that's like kind of representative of like a main thing that separates people from just having like normal, I don't know, just having like their own kind of mindset, I guess. And then you could see the phone there. And that's like distracting everyone from like the fire and the destruction and the explosions and stuff. So that's pretty much the main point of it, just to like show some like how people are so distracted by things on their phone instead of like engaging in the real world.
Yeah, I think Jamie pretty much covered it. I do have one question for the class. I know this one we're supposed to do a lot more like type. I have a lot of images in my sketch, and I just wanted like more ideas of how to include type in the image. If anyone has any ideas.
I think what you could do is for like the fire and the destruction in the background, you could like outline the fire with like different words or like problems. You could write like disaster or whatever, chaos or something. So it like at least you don't have to like read it to understand what's going on, but if you read it, you get more of a sense of like the situation.
That makes sense.
Maybe the wall on the upper sketch or the sidewalk has words on it like keep going or just don't look up or sheeple or something.
That's actually a really good one too.
I was thinking you can comprise the buildings of words. I mean, it says obey on it, but like in like maybe smaller font and more of the same color. So then the obey, greed, and power can like stand out.
Yeah, makes sense.
What if like the building just like was the word? You feel me? So it's like making it so like
Just one word like
font.
obey, just
Yeah.
stretched out. That could
You just
work.
gotta find like the right font or the right word you want to use exactly. Or like each word could just be like each building could just be like the word turned on its side, like up. Something like that.
Yeah, I like that actually.
Jamie, did you want to mention your research topic and then some kind of connection?
Yeah. Well, for all like in the breakout room, all of us had kind of the same topic, which was how media can just like kind of misconstrue things and be distracting towards like the real things that are going on. But in my research, mine was more about like how there's fake news outlets and how a lot of like there's Snapchat news, which just isn't reliable and stuff like that, which distracts people from actual things in politics that are going on. Like there's so much fluff in like those kind of news outlets. And yeah, that was pretty much my research, and I feel like we all kind of had similar topics.
And then following up, listing your research, and then last point is like, what's a recommendation he could strive for based on that research?
I would say like a recommendation on how to include that in his project.
Yeah, sure. It's like some kind of mashup,
Maybe he could add like political figures in his sketches, like specific ones, or something specific. I don't know. Like, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Yeah, I find this notion of like relating the research also helps to like remember, what you've researched. So it could be a good thing to kind of get in the practice of doing. Okay, so I think we're on Andrew's, right? Yeah. Is this one good?
Yeah, I broke the two big ones onto separate pages so I can get more detail. This is one of them.
Sure. All right.
Sorry. Yeah, I had this one. All right, so Andrew, he is doing his project based around porn, actually, which I thought was a very interesting topic. But here he has a whole bunch of like little pop-ups that you would normally get when looking at things, would be like, ooh, click here, look at this, look at that. But instead of just being like a bland display of just like a clickbait, it has more like sort of some underlying issues that you don't normally think of when you think of porn, of all things. Like, it has why people like would even go into this industry in the first place. Like, he has in the bottom left, it's our runaways needing to pay bills, and like medical bills, stuff like that. It's just kind of like explaining that it's not just so black and white. There's like a little bit of and there's more to it than just, oh, screw it, I'm going to go join the porn industry, stuff like that. It's not always as simple as that. Do the next picture. All right, just this one. All right, and this one, he has a sort of parody of YouTube, but it's with a more like the whole like Pornhub kind of look on it, calling U-Hub, where it's he actually took a couple other like smaller sketches that he did like in his like concepts, and he put some of them in here and combined them to make this, where he has someone like bound by like different issues on a table in like a porn way. And he has some of the ads just explaining more of like the reasons why someone would join this sort of industry in the first place, even though it's not so apparent as what people would normally think. found this when I was thinking about how this would all sort of tie in with my project, since I'm focusing more on misinformation and how it can spread around. This is sort of like a weird field for me to think about this, but like I said, a lot of these examples that he has on here, they kind of highlight areas that you wouldn't normally think of when thinking about this, this type of work to get into, even if you would consider it work itself. Some people just don't join it because, screw it, why not? They actually do it because they have no other choice, or they're sort of driven into it, and they have, as you would see, their bills to pay, stuff that they have families, they have to support, and they have to pay their bills, and they have to live a life too. So it's not all just about, having a good time and, eroticism and stuff like that. It actually has a little bit more of a somber truth to it than what you would normally expect from an industry like this. And even then, some of it isn't all voluntary in the first place, with trafficking and stuff like that. So there's a lot of gray area and just weird parts of this that you wouldn't normally think about, that you don't normally hear about when people would talk about porn and stuff like that. But, don't have any questions or anything?
So is it kind of portraying it as a good thing that people are basically being forced to do it to pay their bills, or is it clear that it's going to be like a will and choice of theirs?
Well, it's sort of like, and sort of my interpretation along with his, it is a choice that some people do go into, but sometimes it's, some people get railroaded into it to where it's like, it's not as simple as like, oh, screw it, I'm dropping out of college and I'm going to join the porn industry. It's more like people do that, but other people who, aren't as, like, they don't have the same opportunities as everyone else, they might join it because it pays well and it's, profitable, and they don't have to go to school to get it. They can just sort of give themselves away to this, make money, and keep going and, pay their bills or find work and do something. So it's sort of like some people do join it, but some people are sort of, in a way, forced into it. And once they're into it, it's kind of hard for them to get out of it. Then they are sort of like a little bit more with the drawing. He does have it where usually when you hear about porn and stuff, it's, shamed upon like almost immediately. And it's like restricted with like government stuff like that. But it is an industry in of itself. So that is something to sort of consider about it.
Yeah, I have a couple follow-ups here. I also did, or try at the beginning of grad school, I was focusing on trying to figure out a project to start, and I ended up dropping it off because of the harsh criticism that I got about using porn as a topic. And I was focusing on it in terms of using technology and focusing on technology. And just as a kind of a reference for you all, there's a lot of people who could describe porn as leading technology, right? Kind of any new technologies really are adapted quite quickly by the porn industry. So it is an interesting point. The thing that I will bring up to you, though, Andrew, right? This is Andrew's, is really focusing on this notion that you are a white male with privilege, in thinking through using pornography in any way or form. So whether you're not meaning to do that or not, it's going to be there. And so I think the challenge for you is to also represent, quite literally, some notions on potential misogynistic components that the porn industry could be referring to, or kind of taking advantage of, right? And I think that if you don't quite frankly bring up and not necessarily shame, but like condone in some way like your own privilege about this topic, then it's almost going to be like there's always going to be that harsh criticism against you for picking this topic because of the sensitive subject matter. So, I mean, there's a lot of layers to that, and I'm not sure exactly why, just because it is a sensitive topic. But I thought that I'd relate to you my own, at least, research in getting all of that feedback myself. So lots of food for thought. But I'm glad you're taking the reins on striving for something that's a challenging topic to talk about. So I wouldn't necessarily drop it. It's just, you got to make sure you're trying to be specific is all. Okay. And Becca.
I'm gonna fully admit that my Wi-Fi is horrible right now, and I just got kicked from the call for a second. So if someone asks me a question and I do not respond, it's because my Wi-Fi is being screwy. Sorry.
Nice.
All right, so I'm going to be talking about Becca's, and her project is about Zoom fatigue and how this semester we don't have a spring break, and how that can actually be very bad for students because of Zoom fatigue. And so she wanted to emphasize on the school officials and how they're handling the schedules, and how there's a lot of uses of words. She wants to take advantage of a bunch of words in this project to help elaborate on this topic. And so the picture on the bottom is probably what she's going to be going forward with. And so half of the person is a organized, put together, well, from the outside person. So on the Zoom call, you see a person that's prepared and ready. But then on the right side, you can see that there's a bunch of scribbles. There's a bunch of bad words such as chaos, sloppy, unorganized. And all these words are to explain and emphasize on the inside, the internal of how the students we will feel. And so this is basically her political aspect of what she's trying to hit on, Zoom fatigue and how the school schedules, is not going nice for us because we don't have a spring break to help us, cool down from that chaotic side. And so basically what her project relates to my research with my partner is since my partner and I are going to be doing something about mistrust and fake news. My project is about the Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. So that has to do with my research has to do with fake news and how on social media these things can be put up, with like fake faces. Someone can promote something, but internally they don't really feel that way, or they're just doing it for the fame or something. The main correlation between my research and Becca's project is two faces. Basically, one one face is from the outside and then the other face is from the inside, you can have a complete different opinion, different like opinion from what they wanted to say in the in the in the first phase. So yeah. Any questions?
For the bottom of the second picture, what are it's describing the swirls and it says chaos made of, and I just can't make that out.
Oh, so I was gonna say that like the different like scribbles and stuff were actually like different words that I have twisted around, like stress or anxiety or whatever, like swirled around inside the person to like give it off more. I made a little mistake with spelling there, so it's a little hard to read.
I'm not sure if I clarified as well, but Becca's technological aspect that she's trying to use with her political is the Zoom platform. So using that Zoom platform, Zoom fatigue and our schedule, we don't have that spring break to relax and, unscribble those scribbles.
I almost wonder, so you said the squiggles are supposed to be words of like chaos, right?
Yeah, I didn't do it in the sketch because it was hard, and I wanted
So
the sketch
in
to
Illustrator,
kind of
they're
look
gonna
neat.
be
In
like the
Illustrator,
words.
in theory, it will be words. I just
Right.
didn't want to make my sketch look too like
Yeah, that'd be hard
horrifically
to read.
messy.
So I almost wonder then, do you want to put the words inside the other one, like the other half, instead of having half of a person, maybe it's the words organized and very straight and justified to like contrast that?
Yeah, I might actually. That's a good idea. I wanted so like the words that I have like in the rest of the picture, it was gonna be like I thought that would make up the background. Like I'd just choose a random color and have that be like the wall behind the person. Like showing, okay, this side is put together. Every time you zoom in, I get stressed. I don't know why. But like this side is like the organized half that you see, and then the other half is the chaotic half, as in the screen moving around right now that is distracting me. But if I see now that I have half of the person have words, I should probably do something with the other half as well. So thank you for that.
Okay, so I had Dante. His was he did like QR codes. It was kind of like the main like tech thing he focused on, but he wanted to have the QR codes represent like the pandemic year and like kind of what we've gone through with COVID stuff. So it would be like the top one, it would be a maze of like this QR code, and they would be things like pandemic, mask, loneliness, and that sort of stuff being the words inside the maze that you can't like get out. So that's like how it like relates to technology. But then with the bottom one, you see the QR code again, but it's like it's more zoomed in, so it'd be a lot less detailed here. But around it, it has the mental health support stuff. So it's more about how like different health organizations have like been promoting stuff to try to like keep everyone okay, and like how they've had to step up and like what they also like still need to like do to help people, because like sometimes like they're not as much as we need, or like the support isn't there. And it's not very like he was mentioning how like it wasn't like super clear with the QR code on the top, but he definitely wants like it to very much like look like a maze, not just a QR code. So it's like representing the year and not just a little like code. And so like the research I did, it doesn't super correlate. My research is more about like different like demographics and technology and how that's like brought the rise of like different cultures very fast, like subcultures. And he was trying to express also in the QR code a lot of different feelings. So it's not just like one person's experiences with COVID, but like more branching out into like how everyone felt. And I was definitely unsure like how that'll be like presented of like the different expressions with not just like being a bunch of words randomly. So like I was wondering if like he'd want to, I think like a suggestion I would have would like try to like correlate different like feelings in different sections of the QR code, I guess would be my like hint or something. I don't know. I think that's mainly everything. Do people got questions? Dante, you got more to say that you'd want to say about it?
Yes. So on Illustrator, hopefully I can draw a QR code better than I can draw it by hand. But the maze will be made out of the words, and it will take us through the stages of the year of the pandemic. So we'll start off with towards the start of the maze, like lockdown and different words. And then throughout all of it, the words kind of get better. And then you'll see at the end, it's like hope and other things, as we don't know when the end of the pandemic is going to come. The one part of my research that I just want to put in here is that it said history has shown that the mental health impact of disasters outlasts the physical impact. So bringing that more into politics, how these organizations, local, state, are helping with mental health, but will continue long after the pandemic ends.
I think one thing you can do, I know when you have the maze blown up like that, it's not really scannable as a QR code. But if it's going to be a maze, maybe at the end of it, you could put the actual QR code, like a smaller one. So that's
Okay.
like the ending of it.
Yes.
And then you can do whatever you want with the big one.
So kind of going off that idea, you can have color in QR codes and they can still work. So theoretically, if you wanted to, you could have a QR code that actually does work. It may take a few tries to generate one that looks right for the project, and then put the words in the black space. This way the QR code still reads as a QR code.
Interesting. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
One thing I was definitely wondering, Dante, was like if you end up going with like the thing in the top left and not like the like poster for like the mental health organization, like do you have plans of like how you would incorporate like the support like hotlines and stuff?
So I kind of want to incorporate them both together. It might not be the QR code might not be as small on the poster, but I would like to have the QR code and the poster to represent both technology and politics.
All right.
Any specific one or both? Or
Yeah, the first one. More what I'm leaning towards.
okay. Who's covering Jamie?
That was supposed to be Majao. I don't know if he's having problems with his microphone right now or not.
I could talk a little bit about it first, if that's okay.
Maybe we'll just go to the next person, come back. Maybe he just used the bathroom or something. Let's go with Jetty. Okay.
I had him, and he wanted to focus his project on the misinformation the public spreads and how it affects people. So in the first one, somebody's wearing like a tinfoil hat, which is kind of used to like block, I guess, like wavelengths usually. But here, in some more literal sense, it's kind of blocking like reality common sense. And it's the words are bouncing off his head. And then for the second one, it's like an example of misinformation. So during the storming of Capitol Hill, there was a guy dressed as a Viking, and he's on a boat of what he actually believes, which is actually misinformation. So the boat is comprised of like words, and then he's on the sea of truth and reality, which he doesn't meet. And yeah, like in his proposal, he said like the Viking guy, he believed 5G was killing people, which is not. And for my research, I kind of did the reliability of people in power and can coincide how the government is withholding information from civilians. So ours is pretty different. His is about misinformation, and mine is about like how the government is withholding information. But one similarity that I found is that civilians encounter and believe misinformation all the time. And yeah.
Like, did you want me to talk about? I just got highlighted for some reason.
I'm just trying to manage the video. It's a complicated reason.
Right.
It's about recording.
Okay. Yeah. Like, to be specific, I like, this is my project is on misinformation, like spreading on social media. So I guess in that way it kind of ties in with technology.
Yeah. I think Christine did a good job.
Yep.
The highlighting thing, like right now I have all of you up on my screen so I can see kind of when you all talk. But when I record, it only has one banner vertically. And so sometimes when people are talking in the recording, you can't see them. So I just kind of go through and try to keep who I think might be talking, since we're talking about yours. Anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, no, sorry, didn't mean to call on you specifically. What do you guys think?
It looks good. I like the boat idea with it being like all sorts of conspiracy theories, like shielding him from like actual reality.
Thank you.
I like how a helmet's supposed to protect you, but in this case, it's shielding him from, like you said, common sense and reality. I think that double standard of a helmet really works.
You could even include that in the second sketch, right? Throw some things bouncing off his helmet.
Maybe I should, maybe.
Yeah, I think
I was trying to actually like draw like a tinfoil hat, but my drawing skills, I cannot do that.
I was gonna suggest maybe like have words rain over his head. So like on the second one, so the words are just gonna be bouncing over, off his helmet, basically how it's similar to the one on the left. And then the water is just gonna be a bunch of words, but like in water form.
Yeah, that was the idea. And the boat is gonna be made out of words too, probably.
almost wondering instead of, because you're going to have the words there in the water of the boat, maybe instead of having like the words rain down, maybe it's like an arrow aimed at the shield, because he is holding the shield out like that. Maybe he's like doing it to purposely deflect the reality. So maybe it's like a single thing that's just like reality and just bonking off the shield.
Yeah. I should have him like blocking CNN.
This isn't really productive feedback, but I really like the face on the Statue of Liberty, and I really hope you keep it in your project. It's that exact face.
Thanks.
Well, we will be talking about bringing images in and how to vectorize them. So, you know. So that, oh, by the way, that's a very big point that I haven't brought up this semester yet is this is a really great project to potentially incorporate handwritten content. So sometimes you could literally just use your own hand-drawn type, and bring that in. Just as a quick example, it's not anywhere near the same project. This was way back in community college. I did digital drawings here, like 3 different posters. And so the requirement was we had to have this title as a poster. We had to write it in some way and then bring it in to vectorize it to use, right? So, I mean, very simple to do. It's if you're accustomed to drawing anyway, and then could you bring that in and utilize that in some way? So something to keep in mind.
Professor, I'm able to go now if possible. I just had to take care of something, which is why I wasn't there.
Oh yeah. So Jamie's okay.
So Jamie's was basically surrounding the subject of how media tends to use a lot of like little clickbaity words and so on to grab people's attention and help divert from more important issues at hand and more important matters at hand. A lot of the stuff that they tend to call news is really just sensationalist or sometimes like really mundane, like stuff that really doesn't matter. Like with her second sketch, the Donald Trump one, where it's like Donald Trump takes a stroll outside. It's like something so stupid, but would actually. So we used to see stuff like that all the time in the previous administration, where something as mundane as that would make it in the news somehow. So yeah, no, hers really wanted to focus on that end of the subject. Her first sketch was basically the same thing as well. But again, targeting a woman in this instance to really help hone in that point. It related to mine more like, I think she brought it up earlier when she was on the message, on the call, how it related to everybody who was on the breakout rooms, basically, in that we more or less focused on media and how it might affect, how it might like play into how it might play into larger roles, such as like government and so on and so forth. Mine personally is specifically around like putting organization of masses versus relying on, like, say, governments or like media and so on and so forth to help distribute information or make actual change, like mostly focusing on direct action versus so on and so forth. So yeah, no, like I was kind of meshing in that way a little bit more on that front. Yeah, that's that.
My first sketch also kind of shows my point of like how in the media sometimes like some things that they say in the media can just like villainize women or stuff like that. And in my other sketch, I put Fox News at the top. So that was like, you know, certain media outlets lean towards a certain point of view.
I think in the second one, that'd be like a good idea to have like the normal like Fox News like banners, like have it look like it's a actual news thing that you're watching on TV, and then you can
Yeah.
like put some text there being like it's like a stupid scrolling text like saying something.
Yeah. And I drew it really badly, but that's supposed to be like a person holding a phone from like a back kind of view, like you're over their shoulder. If anyone has any suggestions or anything, let me know.
I'm wondering if like for the first one, if like who the person is or where they is could like be important and all. Like I don't have any ideas right now, but just like as of right now, like they are just like a person holding a phone. But I didn't know if it was like if you would want to add anything else or have it just be like empty space.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more.
Any last comments? This may be a good time to also follow up that if you guys end up having a shift in your concept, which I don't really promote you do that, more so also talking about the first project, but like this point on, if you have another sketch or two that you do to kind of situate yourself, or the first project sketches that you didn't upload, you can still get those in. They're just time stamped or whatever. So I know that they were later on, but I'm going to be starting grading on the first project today. So it'd be good to make sure I see everything you did. Here's John.
So John's project is about the violations and the disadvantages of the 99% of America. And even as a majority, the voices aren't being heard, and the voices that are being heard aren't original thoughts. He's using typeface to demonstrate the problems with privacy and false identities. The first image is the Capitol building made partially out of monitors to relay the spread of misinformation around politics and other important issues. His second image represents how people no longer speak and express how they feel. They just repeat what they hear on social media. There's no more original thought, and that spreads more misinformation and fake news. These two topics are important to him because growing up as Gen Z, he is able to understand all the negative side effects that social media and the internet bring to light. This relates to my research because during the pandemic, the issues have been brought more to the forefront, and along with the pandemic, all this negative news has effect on people's mental health. As mental health is declining, people are less likely to speak for themselves and less likely to share their original thoughts and hide behind a computer or a phone screen to talk about important issues. The biggest point that I found in my research is that during the pandemic, 4 in 10 adults in the US has reported symptoms of anxiety or depression. That has been largely consistent, up from 1 in 10 adults who reported these symptoms from January to June of 2019. The advice that I have for John's project from my research is to make a small body out of words behind the big body he has up front to show how people are hiding behind their online personas. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
So the bottom one's supposed to be a parroting back information you see online, just to confirm, right?
Yes. So he has thought bubbles and potential tweets coming up from this headless body.
Okay. So I wonder then if, because there's the one main figure there, and I know you said there was the idea to put a smaller figure that people like hiding behind the online persona. Maybe it's the one main figure and a bunch of smaller figures saying the exact same thing to get that idea about parroting out there again. So the one figure is like, the sky is green, and everyone else is like, the sky is green. We accept this.
Definitely. John, do you have any other
No,
thoughts?
I think that's a great suggestion, Andrew. It makes a lot of sense. You know, you have one main person who originally comes out with a thought, and you know, millions of others follow along with that. And yeah, essentially, I'd want to play around with the text inside the bubble, and maybe the bubbles of the others repeating the same thing. Kind of create like an echo effect. So I'll find a way to like create like a rippling effect from like the main thought, and then outer like, you know, repeating thoughts that people just, you know, adopt. So yeah, I'll definitely take that into consideration.
What would be in the background for the thinking in bubbles one? Like, what would he be standing on?
I want to say, I was actually thinking about that as you know, Dante was explaining the project. Maybe I'll find like, you know, like the profile of a Facebook page or Instagram, or like maybe, you know, kind of play around with like how the user interfaces of these different social medias look like, and create like a little place for him to stand in between like all other, you know, all other like, I guess, images. If it's on the Explorer page, like he's going to be surrounded by a lot.
Right.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to play around with like how the user interfaces look like in different social media platforms. Also for the top image, I I kind of saw this opportunity. I really want to take it. It's too perfect. Kind of implement like the Matrix style text, like coming down behind the Capitol building. I'd feel like I'd want to use that blacking like lime green type of text, and within those vertical that vertical type, I'd be able to like just type in some like words relating like sensitivity and privacy issues.
I wanted to grab a snack, so I didn't know if anybody mentioned it. Are these indicative of like windows, right? And such?
Yes. Yes. So the monitors would kind of be mimicking like what the building would look like, and I was thinking like I could also play around with that by, you know, creating the shape of the windows with text. I don't know, or even like words or like letters that are like very blocky based. So
I don't know if this has any relevancy towards your specific concept. It's just a generalized thought that I had as I was letting you guys talk. Is that it almost, because I was sitting back further too, it almost looks like eyes. And then I know I already brought up an example of eye, but then it got me thinking, well, it's kind of like an establishment of eyes, like people that are just caring about themselves, or, you know, like promoting their self-interests in government.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's particularly relating. I just thought I'd bring it up.
no, that's a great observation. It makes sense, you know.
I really enjoy this layout. I think it's a really powerful image. I just don't see the full integration of type in there yet. So I think this would be an awesome one to pursue.
Right. I was leaning towards that one as well.
Christine.
I had Christine's. So she did her research on government spying on people through technology, and especially with the case of Edward Snowden. Um, we talked about both, but we didn't really talk about the top one. So I think she's gonna use the bottom one as her main idea. So what the bottom one is, it is inspired by 1984, and the big eye is supposed to be like spying on people, and the figures on the bottom, they're people with their phones out, and the structures on the side, they're buildings. They're gonna be made out of type, and the eye, the iris of the eye is gonna have some words on it. I believe, yes, some type of words. I can't remember at the top of my head, but how it relates to my project. So I did my research on misinformation spreading on social media, and I looked up like how many people use smartphones in the US, and it says 76% of all Americans use smartphones. So to relate to this, I could definitely see that if the government was spying on people, it would definitely be easy to get personal info, because we all have like basically like small computers in our pockets and whatnot. Yeah. Do you have anything more you want to say, Christine? I think I butchered yours. Sorry.
Okay. I tried to do my research on Edward Snowden, and basically found out that the NSA and the CIA have been like collecting information from telephone records. So like over the eye, I wanted to put like, I mean, I don't know if it's literally like that, but I put like, oh, so and so contacted this person, but it's just like a bunch of like examples. And then for the buildings, like it was kind of like 1984, like we're watching, we can hear you, like things like that. And then, yeah, on the bottom, it's just people on their phones.
So you plan to have the text just go over the eye, correct?
Yeah. But still kind of make it like visible. And then for the pupil of the eye, I wanted to put like the NSA logo or the CIA logo.
I wonder if maybe instead of over the eye, you know how irises have like the liney texture? Maybe instead of it just going just over the eye, maybe you just expand the iris a little bit more than it would actually be, just for effect, and have like the words going across and around the pupil.
That's a good idea.
Any last thoughts? Do you have anything planned to be on the wall behind the computer?
I was thinking about going with that sketch, but I think I might do the bottom one. I think I'm going to do the bottom one because, yeah, that was my issue. I feel like it was,
Gotcha.
The first one was very incomplete.
Gotcha.
Okie doke. We did Michael's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, who's got me Chow?
It's me. So for Majal's project, he basically wanted to show how powerful it is when people organize together politically compared to like other methods of like exercising their political power. You can see in the first sketch, basically it's two different scenes contrasted. So the first is a lion eating a buffalo with some other buffalo, basically asking him to stop nicely, which is basically what voting is. Just kind of like ask politicians like, hey, can you be better? But the second one is them organized. You can see the lion on the right side, like trampled. They organized together, trampled the lion, and then actually helped the buffalo that was being eaten. And for this second sketch, it's basically showing how politicians just like keep lying on TV and saying like, oh, vote for me, we'll do this. Vote for me, we'll do that. They're not actually following through with any of them. And for my research, I was basically doing it on fake news. And I think that is pretty relevant to this. People, like there's so much fake news around, basically saying like a lot of stuff and keeping people from organizing together. A lot of it's just like not real. But that's basically all people have to do is organize and change what happened. Yeah, so any thoughts from the class?
So just to clarify, the animals on the top, it's the buffalo, and you said a lion, it looks like?
Yeah, in the top sketch, on the first part, it's a lion on the left side eating a buffalo.
Gotcha.
And the second one, the buffalo who was being eaten is on the left and the lion is on the right after getting trampled, basically.
Gotcha. And it's still supposed to be like the message of political figures, right?
Yeah, the lion's basically a politician and the buffalo are the people organizing.
Almost wonder then, instead of maybe like a lion, maybe it's like an elephant and a donkey eating something that's like a mutual prey between the two. Because then at least that would represent the political parties.
Like Democrats, Republicans.
Yep. And then maybe instead of a buffalo, I don't know what the thing is for like the independent voter, if there is an animal that represents it. But maybe like that could be like instead of the buffalo.
I wanted to steer away from using like the two political parties, such as like differentiating between Democrats and Republicans, mainly because I wanted to really like shoot in the point that at the end of the day, when you're looking at them from, whether it be from a foreign policy perspective or just from like a working class perspective, they're more or less the same. And yet it is more or less like a predatory standpoint, trying to persuade the masses to basically work with them at the end of the day. So I wanted to really like hone that point in, as opposed to using like say an elephant or a donkey, and mostly because like the relationship between, like, I think most people know this, like between lions and buffalo is obviously like lions hunt buffalo and so on and so forth, but like as a group, buffalo can really like hone in and do something against it. So it's less so about trying to push for like voting ideologies or like showcase voting, but to showcase like fighting back in other means, as opposed to the ways that have already been like established in the system.
So which sketch are you leaning towards then, like the top one or the bottom one?
I feel like mostly the bottom one. The first
Okay.
one was something that I came up with off the dome, but even then, I feel like I want to reserve that for something else. But mostly want to tackle the second one.
Gotcha.
I was wondering, like, for the second one, if like you could use like type to like have on like the political figure things, like different words of like what they like represent, like different things they've tried to push for or something.
Yeah, that'll definitely that's right in line with what I wanted to
okay.
end up doing later on. So spot on. Yeah, that I definitely could like plan on using words and other banners and things, especially on the bulldozer, and putting them on with like trigger words or keywords that they use.
Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are not going to finish on time. Does anybody out of Mohammed, Oakley, Stephen, Tanner, any of you have to leave dramatically right after this?
I'm pretty sure we did Steven already. Because I'm pretty sure he was the.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit better.
We might have just enough time.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to probably go over a couple minutes. So if you have to directly go to something, otherwise, I'd rather do it now so we have next week free up. All right, Mohammed's.
All right, so I had Mohammed. So he wanted to like what his sketches were trying to portray is like the Black Lives Matter movement, and he's saying like it's basically like the modern day segregation, because like Black lives, they don't have like the same opportunities as like white lives, but he's like he's just saying like the whole Black Lives Matter movement right now is basically a segregation for Black lives. It's mainly focused on Black Lives Matter, and so like how this relates to my project is well, my research was basically on social media influence, and when this whole situation happened, like there was a bunch of like live streaming riots and stuff like that, which like we're so easily influenced when we see things online that we feel like we have the right to like join in the riot and just start destroying stuff and stuff like that. One thing I would suggest for his sketch, because Muhammad was leaning more towards the top sketch, is probably just adding like another image, since it's basically Instagram, maybe like a second picture, because right now it's just one picture. But other than that, anyone have any questions for me or Muhammad?
Was Instagram or the smartphone the only mean of technology that he planned on working with? Or I can talk to him directly.
I can answer that one. So basically, my project is about Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, and settling that issue, like that political issue in our country, through social media. So social media would be my technological aspect that I'm focusing on, and basically, I want to use images and my project to promote all lives matter and settle the Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter debate um, through social media. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I think if you're going to do this, you would need to like show what you think the problem is with Black Lives Matter. Because right now in your sketch, it's just kind of like in the top one, it's just all lives matter. You're not showing like why you think Black Lives Matter is bad. You're just kind of saying all lives matter.
Well, basically, yeah, I can understand what you're saying for the top sketch, but the second sketch on the bottom is basically what kind of really hits the home, because this is modern day segregation. We're separating Black lives from all types of lives, and segregation in general should not exist.
Well, again, I think you have to
If
like show that if you think that's the case, because again, you're just saying it, but you're not like showing it in any way in the project.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Anybody have any thoughts towards that maybe? I think that is could be kind of a core component of this.
Wait, so what are you, what essentially are you arguing for? Like, what are you trying to convey?
So you can see that on the bottom. I know this is a very controversial topic, but what my intentions is on doing this project is to help support Black people with getting equal rights as everyone else. Obviously, having Black Lives Matter as the hashtag is very, very aggressive and will cause, since it's very controversial, right? Basically, I want to help the Black lives reach equal demands as the other people who have other privileges that perhaps the Black lives won't have. So basically, that's what I want to do. I want to help end modern day segregation through the use of social media.
So
That's basically what it is.
I was in the bathroom, so I apologize if you said this already. Can you define modern day segregation real quick?
Yeah, like I'm having trouble understanding how that would somehow like play into modern day segregation.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole idea behind that hashtag Black Lives Matter is the fact that those are the lives that are at risk at the moment. Obviously every life matters, but at this moment, those are the ones we really need to care about because those are the ones that are at risk. So I don't quite see the idea of modern segregation there. Every house could be on, like if your house is on fire, obviously every house in the neighborhood matters, but at that moment, your house matters because it's on fire. That's not a segregation thing.
Well, there is a political that's the issue. I'm not trying to choose sides here. Okay, maybe the way it seems, but that's the political issue here. There is problems outside in the country on social media that are believing that this is segregation. And I actually did not think of this idea. I watched a YouTube video that actually was about this this issue, and that's what inspired me to bring this to our class today. If you want, I'll link the video to the chat if you guys want to go ahead and watch it yourself. But it is literally about modern day segregation, and that.
So you're arguing that you're not arguing for, you're just showcasing that this is a political.
Yeah, this is literally the political. This is what it is. I'm not choosing sides here. I'm on your side, brother. I'm not choosing sides like that. I'm just here to just send the message,
I think what could be helpful then instead, because one of these images you're upholding the Black Lives Matter, the other you're upholding the All Lives Matter. And if you're talking about kind of this division and the confusion and trying to promote a resolution for like understanding, maybe it's both are paired in the same image in some fashion, right? And then there's a conversation that you're presenting, and maybe that is the image, maybe that is the project, rather than trying to uphold one or the other.
Yeah,
like I understand where you're coming from now. I see what you're trying to do, but I don't mean to interject, but I wanted to say like maybe try and include maybe whether it be another slide or something else to help basically deviate away from, because the way that it's framed currently gives off the impression that it is an argument for, like, you're trying to make a point that this is how it is. Like maybe try and find not another way, but try and find something else that you can add on to the piece so that it can fully convey the idea that this is a political take and not something that the artist or the person behind you are arguing for.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful feedback. Yeah, I guess I can see where it looks like it's an individual standpoint. This is not just I just got inspired from a video, a trending video from last week, and I thought of using this as using the topic as my political aspect because this is a trending. Maybe you guys might not have heard of it, but it is an issue here now in our country. So that's what my project is about.
Yeah, I would just kind of step back and think that how do you present this as that kind of role that you're in of showcasing that there is a dilemma around the topic. So I think that there could be a way to kind of highlight that, to take any sort of what do you want to call it? Taking sides out of it, or kind of promoting one or the other, or trying to make a statement. You're kind of presenting, here's the issue, right? Could be maybe a middle ground approach. So I know class is over. I'm hoping if you guys don't have immediately anything else, we could just cover these two. Who did Stephen and Tanner?
I did Oakley. Stephen, we went over already.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Oakley. Okay, and then so Andrew, Gunther, and then who else?
I did Tanner's.
Are you guys good to stay for a few minutes?
Yeah.
10 minutes?
I'm good.
Okay, yeah. If anybody else can stay, that'd be great. Get these out of the way. There's a couple topics we covered that they're a little bit more sensitive and important to talk about. So I think it was good to kind of let them reverberate there for a moment.
Okay. So Oakley is pretty much focusing on the idea that clean energy, even though it's promoted as this great thing as renewable and whatnot, there's still some sort of downside there to it. So the top image is showing how all these good things that we see, wind and, like solar and stuff, they're all still rooted in like petroleum and other sort of like dirty energy. So it's kind of like what that's trying to show, how it's not really, the glorious end all thing that we see. And the same thing with the second one, it's like it says, the solution isn't always black and white. So with the goggles of clean energy, you're seeing through the idea that CO2 is still there and hidden behind it, and those emissions are still there. Excuse me. So on the top one, the text is starting to like make up the tree and like the branches, and the grid is represented obviously like the word grid. And the goggles have the words, it has like title, text is coming in like the form of title and imagery. So my research was on internet demographics and subcultures and countercultures. So it was a little bit of a stretch to get some sort of connection. So the way I was looking is that the main culture here would be like the sort of pro clean energy, and the subculture would be like the counter one of what this argument is showing. It's like, there's still the downside. So that would be like the subculture, like the counterculture, so to speak. And so like the demographics behind those groups, I was saying maybe like the clean energy of like all the people who really haven't done their research. And so that counterculture, it's all the people who are educated and like know that there are still downsides to this clean energy. And we haven't quite gotten to that point yet. So my little suggestion would be maybe try and show that educated nature and that balance between the two, between the sides maybe. Any comments, questions, concerns, death threats? I mean, a death threat. I'm impressed. I don't think I missed anything. Did I, Oakley? That maybe you want to tag on to, or?
Yeah, no, you did a good job. Like, I'm not saying, like, obviously I'm not saying green energy isn't a good idea, because like it is, but I'm just saying that there are a lot of downsides and like hidden parts of it that people don't realize. Like to make the wind turbines, you have to use petroleum, and you have to, like, how is the energy produced to make them? And same with like solar voltaic cells. Like, it's just a lot of people think, oh, we can just put in like wind and solar, and eventually we can just power ourselves all by renewable sources. And really that's not the case. Like, even when wind turbines aren't like running, they have to have a backup generator somewhere. Like, with the wind stops, like what are you going to do if you can't just keep everybody from having power if the wind's not going?
So I do want to see which one do the rest of the audience here think they might lean towards if they were to pick this up for project.
I like the top one. I think I like that one better.
Top one, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Well, I would argue that a lot of people probably would pick up more so on a more pictorially established topic. However, the thing I think I want to bring out here is that the bottom one, you're almost like relying on spelling out your entire statement in the bottom one a little bit more just upfront, whereas the top one you have some kind of structure to imply the content into or around. So I think within that regard, maybe. You know, I don't know. You could always use this like a very large view of like glasses kind of overlaying the entire thing and have that duality happen as well, right? Kind of combine the two potentially.
Maybe going off that idea, maybe they're like 3D glasses. So maybe one view, like the left eye, you have like the clean view, and the right eye, maybe you have like the dirty view of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
You can even have it like the glasses over like a wind turbine or something. Like normally the wind turbine is normal, but through the glasses it's like pollution, oil, whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a couple different pairs of glasses, maybe, you know, instead of just one. And it doesn't have to be this. I'm just bringing it up as a potential consideration. Okay, and then we have Tanner's. Oh, this is making me scroll. Oh, it's a PDF.
Yeah, sorry. That is how I like uploaded a lot of these things. So I have to do it for other class. So I just accidentally did it the same way.
No, it's fine. I was trying to zoom in. This one?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So for Tanner's project, he's going to be placing a strong emphasis on cancel culture and the bullying / hurtful mob mentality that people adopt. And it's specifically intended at social media users and like the hurtful platforms that allow this type of behavior. And oftentimes, you know, certain celebrities or even politicians are targeted, which brings upon the political aspect of it. And obviously, with events of the past, we have seen, you know, presidents who are more active on social media now. And oftentimes, you know, they may not say the right thing. And, you know, cancel culture may be adopted behind that, or celebrity, anybody really could be targeted. He's going to be incorporating an attitude, a visual attitude in the first image at the top that kind of relates to like the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, with the 3 characters. And more specifically, he has Mandalorian, Speedy Gonzalez, and Jack Sparrow. And all these characters have been, in a way, canceled because of something that was said, done, or, you know, displayed. And for example, he wants to kind of outline whatever was said that got these characters canceled and shape it in the form of the character. For example, the Mandalorian, someone had tweeted something, and, you know, as a result, the, you know, cancel culture stepped in, and, you know, he wants to shape that tweet into like the shape of the Mandalorian's head. And he wants to use a hashtag canceled to, you know, display that see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So for the Mandalorian is going to be canceled, speak no evil. Speedy Gonzalez is going to be, I guess, hear no evil. And then for Jack Sparrow's see no evil. At the bottom, his second image displays someone getting burned at stake because of something they said. And, you know, around is an angry mob of the platforms who, you know, the social media platforms who, you know, in a sense promote this type of behavior. and someone passing by is going to be on their phone saying stop bullying or stop this type of behavior. And this topic is important to Tanner because it's a newfound behavior of our generation. These are negative trends that people often adopt, and it relates to herd mentality. And the relation that it has to my project is that, you know, in a sense, social media gives people a voice, but this voice shouldn't mean that you can outright say whatever you feel without further thought. And if you do this and you're the type of person that does this, then you should expect getting some sort of resentment and, you know, people eventually canceling you, which is what the cancel culture does. So it relates in the sense that my research, you know, I'm speaking on misinformation and social media personalities and identities, and even, you know, privacy. So this is what we're talking about. This is the technology that social media is. It's a way for people to speak out and share their feelings and thoughts. So but you should always have like a level of, you know, monitoring what you say and even thinking before you even speak or put out anything. So what I would recommend that Tanner does is that he makes the hashtag canceled little banner on the characters in the style. I don't know if you know what the Supreme logo looks like, where it's like a red block with white letters. That kind of, you know, stands out and people recognize that. And that's a brand that a lot of people have adopted. So in a way, like people adopting cancel culture, you know, you can make that stand out with that Supreme logo type of style. And Tara, I don't know if you want to add anything before, you know, class is done, but
I think you did pretty good. I like your idea too, like just like the very bold, like red, and like I think that'd be a good font, like text choice for it.
With the messages on the figures themselves, would it say hashtag canceled or would it just say hashtag canceled?
It'd probably be canceled, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured.
What's going to be in the background of the three, you know, heads, so to speak?
I didn't really think of like I don't know. I kind of wanted it more empty. I didn't really have much. I thought a lot would be going on with the three heads. Like they'll take a majority of the image. I feel like I might include like I have like the speak no evil things above them. I might keep that. I might not. I don't know how I'm honestly feeling about like having it literally said, because I feel like the little cancel things say it enough. If you have ideas for stuff in the back, I'd love to hear. I don't really have anything in mind.
Because I'm just wondering how to get more text into it, because right now it is very graphic. I'm wondering if maybe,
well, like the images themselves, like the people, like it'll be the images I've drawn are kind of like the outlines for it, but I want them to be built from text of like a tweet that was said and stuff.
Gotcha.
So like for the Mandalorian one, like I'm talking about the female, like lead Gina, like she tweeted something. I want it to be built with her tweet, but just like shaped and colored to make it represent like the Mandalorian's helmet.
Gotcha. Sorry, I'm sorry if that was said already.
No, yeah, that's fine. It's not very well conveyed in the sketch.
Anybody brewing up a comment or? Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for sticking around, guys. I think I already gave you guys the preface of, or maybe it was the first class. Maybe it was the first class. Normally by this time we would be done with exercise, or pretty much. So over the weekend, kind of like preparing to start compiling. So you know, it'd be good to make sure you're solidifying sketch related stuff, or start to figure out more of, you know, color themes, whatever. Typefaces, you can always get into Illustrator and start bringing a couple things in, setting your layers up or whatever, prep work. Or get ahead a little bit on the other classes or whatever, you know, because otherwise there's nothing really specific set for this weekend. So, cool. Yeah, thanks, guys. And John, if you could just stick around for a second.
Sure.
I have a note for you. See ya.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Just wanted to let you know we are limited on time. We're already going over. Just to give you a heads up, you covered all the topics.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a bad thing. But I was trying to allot everybody 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Everybody's sketches were looking at 5 minutes. So about 2 minutes of description, and then like 3 minutes or what. That was during class, obviously. So we did have more time. So but you went for about 5 minutes total.
Yeah.
So definitely more than double. So I don't know. I can't remember the first time you gave talks. I don't know if it was over or not. Just something to keep in mind, like, oh, maybe my amount of time talking, you know, is like shorter than you think, or you're forgetting that topic. Not a huge deal. I'm trying to just bring up, like, if you're limited on that, you want to make sure you're trying to abide by it.
So are you saying I should reduce or increase the amount of time?
Reduce. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you went a little bit over double the time. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Like, you drew out things.
Yeah.
So just longer. It doesn't affect us too much. We're already over class. The point is that once you get into more complex stuff, or in the field, and if anybody ever restricts you for time,
yeah,
and you know, if you're in public government or some kind of place where you're at like specific time, they're gonna like cut you off or tell you, hey, you have a minute left.
Sure.
And it's gonna be stressful or like hard to like condense on the fly. So just a reminder, like, oh, time is a thing that we have to do.
Keep it concise. I got you.
Yeah.
I guess for this, it was more along the lines. He had a lot of like elements within his.
Oh,
image.
yeah.
Just want to make sure I hit all those points, but definitely.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's just one of those things we don't always think about sometimes, or you get interested in something and you lose track. I don't know if it's necessarily a reoccurring thing. I just thought I'd bring it up for you. So.
I mean, I'll definitely take constructive criticism. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll see you Monday.
Okay, take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.